Hey, Fox River. Thank you for taking a moment to hear some exciting information and updates as I share vision for what's coming up next at Fox River.
You ever marvel at how God has gotten you to where you are? I mean, when I look back, you can almost see God's fingerprints, all over the path that got you to where you are. You know what I'm talking about with that? Though in the moment, you're really not seeing those fingerprints. And so as we're talking today about our 2025 vision and about our Light the Way initiative, it's with that understanding of looking back, we marvel at how God got us to where we were. Because this really kind of flows out of the COVID travesty that took place. And I know you remember that as I remember that, and what a disruptor it was. We go back to 2020 that way. I remember the time that we thought we're going to have to not open up our doors for our regular services on the weekend, and how adamant I had been about that. I mean, that is not going to happen. But when we realized that with everything we knew at the time that it would be the most loving thing to do, and it might be a week or two at the most, well, we were willing to do that. Yeah, we know how that went, right? I mean, I'm thinking about the, 6 weeks ramp up we had to Easter, and I knew that we were going to be back by Easter, and right, we weren't back by Easter. And I hope that you were able to be a part of some of our outdoor services, which were our way of just adjusting to the disruption that was going on through COVID. And so much was disrupted. We take that little sliver of just how COVID disrupted things in the church. There were so many churches that they shut down, but quite honestly, many of them haven't opened up again. COVID resulted in the ending of those ministries. And so many people, pastors and ministers that were affected by COVID, at one time it was estimated that almost 40% of those that were leaders in ministry were not going to be returning to it again. That's a disruption. And quite honestly, there were times we're wondering, what is going to happen around here? And when we did, open up again, things just really started slow. So it was in that disruption that we had just begun asking this question. Jesus, what is it that you want for us? What is it that you want for us to be coming out of this terrible disruption that we're going through? And that got us to asking questions, and it really put us on our knees. Pretty good place to be, actually. And there were hours and hours and hours and hours and hours spent on our knees. There were conversations that went back and forth, conversations with our elders and with our pastors, with key dream team leaders, with our staff. And what resulted from that was this vision. It just seemed like such a clear-cut vision that God had before us. Now, it wasn't the type of vision that I could say that I just cut 2 tablets of stone out, went up onto a mountain, and there had God deliver it to us, and I'm here bringing it to you today. That's not what happened. It would have been cool if that would have been what happened, but that's not what happened. But it was that other process that took place. I'm thinking it way more like in the book of Acts, when the church of Jesus looked to him, sought him through the Holy Spirit, and then we got this clarity that came before us. And this vision that we have in front of us right now for 2025 would be this, and I'm really excited again just to be able to share it with you, that Fox River will shine brightly as a city on a hill, led by 4,000 active disciples of Jesus, individual beacons of light, sharing the transformational message and life-changing power of Jesus with every family in our community as we welcome 2,000 new believers to faith. Now, if you take just 15, 20 seconds and look at the vision there, I'm really curious, and I hope you'll communicate with me, what is it that just kind of stands out to you? What is it that would connect with you in that way? Now, we're sure of this, that this is right in line with what Jesus and his vision for us personally, and us, Fox River, his church, would be. Now, you may have a number of questions, and of all the questions I got asked, there was one that just always would be, right up there in the front. So if you're wondering this one, hey, guy, what exactly is an active disciple or an active follower of Jesus? And it brings us back to these four dynamics, and I hope they have a familiar ring to them of gather, grow, give, and go. Now, this isn't a checklist for the disciple, gather, grow, give, and go. It's not just something that we do, but as you look at it again a little bit more carefully, you see Jesus there in the center. And if these dynamics are rooted in Jesus, things that we do for Jesus, things that we continue to do this day, we continue doing these for Jesus, connected to Jesus, that's when we become the light that Jesus says that we can be. That's when we receive this promise that Jesus gave, that if we abide in him, that we will bear much fruit, and it's going to be fruit that remains. That's how we know it's right in line with him. And so the first ask that I would like to make of you today, heartfelt ask, is will you join me and others now in being one of those 4,000 active disciples of Jesus? And right on the heels of that, will you help another person to be able to come along with you? What we have in front of us, accompanying our 2025 vision, is what we're calling our Light the Way initiative. It's a spiritual initiative. We're going to be kicking this off in October. Pretty excited about this. We think it will be a catalyst as we begin to gather and develop these 4,000 active disciples of Jesus. It's also going to help us with some financial initiative that we have for three pretty exciting and we think, light magnifying opportunities that God has given to us. The first of these opportunities would be for a North Campus in Waukesha. We have the opportunity that, again, we think is just super special given by God, that we're able to occupy a building debt-free. The only thing that we're going to have for cost-wise is just the renovation with this. A couple of pictures that you'll recognize. This is an outside shot, and you may, if you've driven by here, go like, I think I know that building. It used to be a Century grocery store when it was initially built, and then it became later Gold's Gym. This is the building that God has given to us at this point. A couple of inside shots. This can be a little bit of the foyer look and the lobby look of it, a rendering of what we're thinking might be our interior with the auditorium that's in there. Again, looks pretty cool there. Now, if you're wondering exactly where this building is at, it's on the corner of Moreland and Delafield. So it's right across from Moreland Medical Center. There's a Starbucks on the corner right there. When you drive by, you'll recognize it right away. Now, as cool as an opportunity as the building itself is, when we realized the strategic location that God was opening up to us, the demographics told us this, and I'm not going to go too deep into the numbers, but I think this is going to have a just kind of like those wow moments on us. Where we're at located in our Waukesha location on Lonsdale Road. Within 1 mile radius of us, we've got 721 people. That would be the population there. But if you look within 1 mile of the new building, there are 11,500 individuals in that 1 mile radius. Now we bring it out a little bit further, 3 mile radius, you've got 34,000 that would be around us here. But in the new area, there are 66,000 individuals. Now, these two campuses will be about 6 miles apart, but that's almost 15 to 20 minutes drive time if you know Waukesha at all. It's almost a completely different world in the same world in which we're living. And so with all these numbers, there's no overlap. but it was the family component that just caused me to go, wow, and thank you, God. You see, around us right now, in 1 mile, we've got 251 family units. But in the new area, with 1 mile, you see it right, 5,000 family units there. In a 3-mile radius here, almost 13,000, whereas in the new area, there's almost 28,000 individuals. I mean, we really believe that this is a key opportunity because new people coming to church, I'm not talking about those that are faithful, but a new person coming to church, and probably 80% of the people in that area, they don't go to church anywhere. New people are willing to go if it is convenient and if it is accessible to them. And this checks both of those boxes big time that way. Now, a second project that we have takes us back to another one of our campuses, which is Muskego. When we received the Muskego building, it was a theater. We remodeled it and put it into the campus that's there, and certainly there's been some wonderful things that have taken place there. The initial building was, however, put over a landfill, and what we've discovered now is some of our floors are sinking. Now, we have no potholes and we've lost no children, so it's no safety concern there. But we know that there's some very important, both a little bit of repair work and then some renovation to go into the building with that, and that's what we're focusing on. One other project takes us back to our family ministries here. Our Upward Sports have about a little over 800 participants every year with them. In fact, just this past weekend, we had almost 300 players that were out for our flag football. It's really cool. If you haven't been out there to see it, I just encourage you to go. Our vision would be to be able to put a dream team outdoor facility there to be able to complement what's going on for them. I mentioned there's 300 this past weekend. You put 2 parents with them and maybe a grandparent, you get over 1,000 people that are out there. And it would be so good to be able to have running water and actually bathrooms out there for everyone, as well as the ability to be able to facilitate more ministry, both with Upward as well as our children's ministry, our student ministry, our family ministry, and some things that we want to do here for Fox River as well. So that would go between the west parking lot and the west fields that we have out there. When I think about these matters that God has in front of us and the opportunities that are there, you always go back to but how much is it going to cost us? And cost is certainly an important thing to consider. Our cost for the first, the renovation, we think we could do for about $750,000. And I didn't mention before, but that building is almost as big as our other Waukesha building would be. For the Muskego building, probably about $300,000. The Field of Dreams building, that's about $350,000. So we're looking at somewhere around $1.5 million that we're looking to be able to raise over the next 2 years. Now, if you're a numbers person, you're kind of running those in your head, you might be thinking but I think that leaves us with another extra $150,000, which would be exactly right. And our desire will be to take the 10% of what comes in, and in the same way that we encourage our giving here, we want to give that right back to God in the area of missions, both in foreign missions, to be able to resource, to be able to have the support for missionaries that are going out of Fox River to other places of the world, and we've got several in that way. Also, to be able to take opportunity to be able to partner with some very under-resourced areas. I mean, places in Milwaukee like where You Flourish and Kurt Owens is at right now. And as more of these new church plants are going to be planted in the near future, here in southeastern Wisconsin, we really believe that God would have us to be a part of that as well. Denise and I have been praying and just wondering, so what do you think God would have us to do in this? And as we thought about it, in our last campaign in Momentum, we felt that God had led us to be able to give a double tithe over the period, the 2-year Momentum period that we did. One tithe, of course, to Fox River, that would be 10% of our income going to support the ministry here, but then another 10% to be able to go toward the Momentum Initiative. This time, as we've been praying about it, we have felt that we are going to be able to do a triple tithe. That would be one tithe to Fox Rivers Ministries for the ongoing work here, but then two, or a double tithe, being able to go toward the Light the Way campaign. Now, for the first time in our lives, we're at the place we could actually give from assets as well as just adjusting our budget. In the past, it's just been a matter of budget adjustment for us to be able to give what it is that we're giving. A few are able to do that. Not everybody's able to, but those of us that can, we know the extra, just the blessing and the stewardship that God has given to us. And again, I just ask you to prayerfully consider if and what God would have you to do in this. Denise and I have learned, we can't outgive God. But the thing that's motivated us even more, it's not about, giving, so God's going to give back to us. In fact, that's never been at the heart of our giving. I don't think yours either. But the questions that we've been running over is just what value would we put on our neighbors coming to Jesus? How much is it worth to us to see life change taking place in other people's lives? And with those things in mind, that's how we got to where we're at. And again, I just ask you to prayerfully consider that. If I can kind of wrap things up, and again, thanks for taking the time just to listen to this today. My heart for you, and if I could just sit down and have this conversation with you face to face, I'd love to be able to tell you this. My heart for you is that you would flourish as a follower of Jesus. Now, I know that's in line with God's heart for you as well, because Paul spoke this word of blessing over friends of his that he knew in the Thessalonian church. And he said this, that I thank God that your faith is flourishing. And so when I say my heart for you is that you would flourish as a follower of Jesus, it is his heart for you. And all that will be experienced in that, that's what I want for you. My heart for your family, for your friends, is that they would be a child of God, that they would flourish in their faith as well. You see, for us not to pursue this vision that God has given to us, to not try to, to leverage the, Light the Way spiritual initiative and what it's going to do for us as well. I feel that it just put us in such a place of loss. I mean, personally, it could be a loss to us, because if we just get comfortable and it's like, I'm a believer in Jesus and things are good, that's when we might end up hearing these words that Jesus spoke to other followers of his, such as in the church of Ephesus, when he said to them, I know where you're at. I know your works. Nevertheless, you've left your first love. And just the indictment that came with that. Or to the Laodiceans when he said to them, I know your works. And I know you're not hot, you're not cold, you're just lukewarm. And then he went on to say how that was a nauseating thing for him. We don't want that. We want to flourish, and that's why we move forward and pursue these things for God. And so I'm going to ask you, would you join with me in praying that this 2025 vision will become a reality, and that you will be a part of it with me, with many others here that God has brought together and through our church. It's so cool. I'm so excited about the future. God bless, friends.